Welcome to VidZet. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Today, Hillary is back. She is the gift that keeps on giving, and it just seems she can't go quietly. What do we run into? We hear about a book that says everybody else was the problem. We hear her blathering about the NFL, and then she won't return any of the money or send it to a real charity, money that Harvey Weinstein gave her. Now, if it was $200, no big deal. It was $250,000, and she gets to keep it. But then we find her falling and breaking a toe, or at least that's what she tells us. She missed some appointments to do video work in a studio in London. She shows up a day later, and her foot is in what's called an air cast. It's an orthopedic boot designed to keep the foot in stable position. I've had a broken bone in my leg and wore one of those things. You've seen them around all over the place. Now, what she says is, quote, "I was running down the stairs in heels with a cup of coffee in hand. I was talking over my shoulder and my heel caught and I fell backwards. I've broken my toe." Well, if you look at the standard way of treating broken toes, and I've had two of them, ordinarily all you really need to do is to tape the two of them together. It's called buddy taping, because toes aren't that big a deal. If it's a big problem, for example, in the big toe, you might do a little more than that, such as the air cast. So she's kind of on the edge of, is it ordinary treatment or not? We'll give her one for that one. An air cast is designed as a walking cast. You rarely require crutches with it, yet she shows up in crutches. If she actually needs to be non-weight bearing, that's not a toe fracture. That's something a little more important. It could be a fracture further into her foot or even up into the ankle or the leg. It could be a fibula fracture like I had. But it's not just a toe fracture. I'm sorry, her story is starting to get a little fishy. So let's look at what she says. I was running in heels. Okay. We've seen pictures of her wearing heels. Now, what she thinks her heels are, they're a 2-inch heel, so they're real. They're not the 4-inch plus stuff that we see these days on the young women, but it's a heel, so we can give it to her. Running? When's the last time you heard of Hillary Clinton running anywhere? I haven't heard it. I haven't seen it. This is a lady who rarely breaks into a fast walk, but running? And then she says coffee. She's holding coffee. In 2008, she told Katie Couric, I don't drink coffee anymore. This story is beginning to smell. Oh, and by the way, she fell backwards? Wait a minute. If I'm going forward, I'm walking, and my heel catches, which way do you think I'm going to fall? You try it and tell me if you don't fall forward. That's the way you're going to fall. So this story is getting very, very odd. That brings us to a bit of history. And before we go there, remember, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter @VidZet, and check us out at Patreon. Help out this production. Now, during the campaign, VidZet documented a number of things about Hillary Clinton's health. In particular, we should recall the time when she had that head-bobbing incident and then says, well, you've got to try the cold chai. Then a few days later, she's at the convention. When they drop the balloon, she has this crazy thing where she goes bug-eyed and goes with the wide-open mouth. Then she has, at 9/11, she has this freeze and topple event, which we showed is most consistent with Parkinson's disease. In fact, everything along the way is consistent with Parkinson's disease, and it fits that story better than any other. So what do we look at? Parkinson's patients, they have a big problem with multiple falls. So if we look, in '09, she fell and broke her elbow. In 2012, right before she finished her time as Secretary of State, she fell and hit her head. Now, we talked about that as maybe being something else, but still, let's take her story, that she fell and hit her head and had a post-concussion syndrome. That's 2 big falls. She also had to be helped up steps. That's a famous picture where she fell and multiple people caught her and helped her up steps. And of course, on September 11, 2 months right before the election, she froze and toppled over. So we've got 4 documented falls. How many others has she had that we don't know about? If we look at Parkinson's disease and say, okay, first of all, we know there's no absolute test for it, but we look at the provocative tests that give us a high index of suspicion. There are 2, and they both involve falls. The first one is called push and release. The second one is called a retropulsive pull. And both of these tests test your ability to catch yourself if you are falling backwards, not forwards, backwards. What direction did she say she fell to break her toe? Backwards. Am I sensing a pattern here? I think the answer is pretty clear. Hillary Clinton is spinning a web of lies. She's trying to cover up for her physical disabilities and cover up for her physical frailty and disease processes. You see, she still thinks it's her turn to be president. And she's got her apologists out there trying to cook up crazy ways where suddenly the election would get overturned or suddenly she would waltz into the White House. She's going to get it. It's her turn. It has to happen. Remember, she's a narcissist. And she is the most beautiful, most qualified person in the world. And she'll tell you so. But being sick would disqualify her because the presidency requires a fit person to sit there and physically do the work. So she cannot allow herself to be sick. It just can't be. She cannot admit to herself that she's not fit. She's a narcissist. She will never be unfit. So she will continue to be a sorry spectacle where she says stupid things. She gets in front of the cameras. And this is all going to continue until she drops in front of our eyes. Then, then, she'll blame the Russians. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for watching.